Hello, everyone, and thank you for listening and for being here. This is one of our interviews we propose on our channels for the BSCF. And today, as you can see, because we are all four, I'm here with Matus, that is with the social media team, right?
Hello, everyone.
And with our two vice chairs, so Paul Bird and Martin Bednar. So thank you very much for being here and for bringing the topic that is very important nowadays, right? So we met. If you can scroll below and find, we had an interview with Gabriel Galgozzi, that is our chair, and that before or when the COVID just started, when we already started with the new kind of reality, right? And we were discussing a lot about what is the new reality for the BSCs, what are the new measures that has been taken, and how this industry cope with that, right? So now I would like to ask you both, maybe let's start with Paul and then let's move on also with Martin. So how did it change? How did it go until now? And what is the current situation in the BSC?
Thanks. So I think stable would be one word to describe it. And a great success story would be another one. We really have been very successful in shifting towards a mode where we have 96% of our populations now working from home. Obviously, now we're starting to look at that returning to work as well, but really without any impact to the operations. I think it's fair to say perhaps some impact to people at a human level. Some people have struggled more than others, and that's something that we need to continue to work on, trying to help them get through this period.
Martin?
I would say the same. I think, it really came out of the blue. Nobody expected it, but I think all our companies were really quickly, able to address it. And, as Paul said, everybody's working from home. I think it's also really good to say that, we were explaining to our people that, while it's not ideal, and as Paul mentioned, not everybody has a perfect condition to work from home. Not everybody is happy, especially if you have kids around, but at least you can actually work and continue to deliver in the office or continue to deliver your work and continue to earn money, because there were many industries and many companies which were just not able to do anything, and people lost jobs, people lost income, and so on. So I think that's great. Also, I think our companies were really and continue to be really focused on the safety of our employees. So we were really quick to react, and I think right now we are actually kind of discussing the return to site, and the whole country is more or less fully open. Some people would argue that we opened really quickly and kind of dropped a lot of measures, and people are asking themselves, okay, so when are we going to go back to office? And everybody's getting ready for it, but it is going to take some time. And really, the main reason why it's going to take some time is that focus on the safety of our people. So it's going to be a long journey, but overall, taking into account all what is happening, unprecedented situation, I think we have to say that all the companies in the industry dealt with it, in an excellent way.
We published in our new website, because we have a new website in BSC, right? If somebody didn't, this bscf.eu, we just published a new document, right? That are guidelines about the return to workspace, right? So it subtitles Back to the New Normal. That was all organized together with AmSam and BSCF and all the BSC companies. So there are several guidelines, right? And informing what are the general point of view. So maybe the first point would be why can we already start, right, to return back to office? So what is the reason that we think we can do it, right? And how we're gonna do it?
Primarily, I would say the why can we is driven by the clinical results that we see on the Slovak region at the moment. I mean, I'm tracking globally, and we see that Slovakia has one of the highest doubling days rates in terms of the transmission of the virus. And that means how many days does it take to double the number of cases that you have in a country? And we're something over 350 days now, which is really one of the best results in the world. So from that point of view, it's really perceived that the climate, the environment is ready for us to start looking at that return. And I think the second part of it, as Martin quite rightly pointed out before, is that because people are starting to ask, people are wanting to get back into the office, and it's an essential part of people's experience. Many of our people told us that they really only need to come to the office for teamwork, but they also told us that they do prefer to be in the office for that as well. So it's on us to provide the environment to our people that allows them to do their work to their very best of their ability.
I would say, what I really like about Shared Service Forum, and that's not just in this environment, but overall, we are all actually really well connected. We are all talking to each other. Everybody is very open. Everybody is sharing the best practices. I really love the dynamics on the forum. So when actually the whole pandemic hit us, we started to have weekly calls. Actually, some weeks it was more than one call on like how everybody's dealing with it. We probably had like up to 20 calls by now, and and then it started on like, hey, what do we do to get people home? And then more recently we were talking about what do we do to get people back in. So naturally, there was a lot of discussions, and it continued to happen. But then we said, well, it seems we all of us actually kind of try to deal with the same problem. So instead of each of us trying to figure it out on their own, we try to exchange the knowledge, and we try to summarize, how everybody's approaching it and share the best practices and so on. So that's how it all came out. And we continue to talk, So we were talking before the pandemic. We will definitely talk after the pandemic, but during the pandemic, we actually definitely doubled up on the interactions and sharing best practices and so on. So which is great, It just shows how we are approaching it, and we are all here to help each other, which is awesome.
Yeah, and let me a little bit bridge it. So, as you mentioned, we are, as Laura mentioned, we publish the guidance coming back to the sites, and you are having those calls. So, can you share with us, like, what actions are companies taking to make sure that their employees are safe, or it's safe to come back to the office?
Across most of the companies, that there's a fairly consistent approach being taken, and as Martin again has rightly said before, the number one priority, of course, is people's safety. So in terms of arranging the office space in a different way, we're thinking about the social distancing, which means, for example, alternate desks are being blocked out. We're thinking about things in terms of making sure the HVAC, the air conditioning systems have the highest manufacturer's level of filters installed, and that they've been properly cleaned, that food and stationary delivery areas are being adapted accordingly. And I think just generally in terms of making sure that there's very clear communication and guidance for people in terms of how they can operate in that new model, what's okay, what's not okay, and with plenty of visual guidance to that as well. So people aren't just trying to remember everything, but it's really very clear to them as they navigate around the office.
Yeah, and I would say every company is different, but somehow similar. I'm sure like every company has a committee for the return to site, or everybody has a different name. And nobody is doing kind of a all or nothing, 0 to 100 in 1 second. Everybody is kind of a staged return. In the first phase of the return, the site capacity is significantly reduced to kind of allow for social distancing. But as the time will progress and the situation will evolve, the plan is to basically relax those measures and kind of increase the site capacity. But it might take 3 to 6 months to get to the absolutely 100% capacity where we used to be. And some companies are already thinking maybe we will never have all the people back in, and that's not just for Slovakia, but I think all the companies in the world are now rethinking, well, we just went through 3 months of all of our people working from home, and actually some people really like it, and some people can be very efficient, and some people can be even more efficient. So do we really have to get everybody back into the office if people prefer to work from home, and if they can be productive and successful? then maybe not everybody will come back home, come back from home. But also we have to think about how to operate in this new environment. Like companies are not traveling that much. Like in my job, I used to travel a lot. I used to, we used to get a lot of international visitors to Slovakia, which was actually great, and we could promote the site and we could get the new jobs. I think now we have to figure out different ways. How do we keep the Slovak shared service centers in the mind of the headquarters, because people will not be coming. I would be surprised if by the end of the year many visitors would come. So we are actually thinking about, okay, how do we as a Slovak center of competence or shared service center, how do we continue to be top of mind in our headquarters? How do we continue to attract the roles? And because the things are changing, and I'm not saying that everything will change going forward, but some things will change, and we will have to adapt into this new environment with less travel, more people working from home, and ultimately, as always, I'm always looking at everything as an opportunity for Slovakia and for our shared service center. If we just prove that more people can work from home, then that means that more people can work from home from different countries. So again, the roles which probably historically were done outside of Slovakia, they could be reconsidered to be moved here. So again, but we need to be ready. We need to have our talent ready. We need to have our playbook for that. So there is a lot of so it's really the kind of the crawl, walk, run. We really first have to just get, now the focus is how do we get back to the office safely. Then I think the next step is we need to think about how do we operate in this new normal, which is not going to be exactly the same like what we are used to. So.
What Paul mentioned at the beginning is also a truth, like the fact that in Slovakia is one of the best in the world, right? In terms of safety is also a good selling point, I would say. Right? So they say like it's part of luck, part of the good measures, part of the good behavior from the various citizens, but it's definitely a strength, right?
Coming back to Martin's point on the strength of our industry and the level of responsibility I think we're showing in terms of how we approach this return back to work. I was speaking to a colleague in Bulgaria yesterday, and the situation there has started to decline actually again. One of the key reasons is because the industrial manufacturing industry was calling people back to work and actually was paying them additional incentives, cash incentives, to not have any sick days. And of course, the behavior that was then driving is that even if somebody felt a little bit sick, they were still incented to come to the workplace. And the knock-on effect of that has been quite disastrous in terms of they were one of the best in Europe, and now actually they're going backwards again. Yeah. So this is where just very careful thought has to be applied, and I'm very happy with the way we're approaching this.
But I think, Paul, I think all of us, we cannot be complacent. Like I think we feel so good about 0 cases a day, which is almost normal now. But we just have to remember, we opened the borders, we stopped the quarantine, like it's all voluntary. I actually see people on the streets being very relaxed. Everybody feels like we are through it. People are hugging, eating on the street again. Handshakes, everything. So I wish we will. Nothing will come back, but. I think what we need to realize is that government just relaxed a lot of rules, but it's even more important now for every person to be even more responsible. Because we are definitely not out of it. The borders are open. Even in Slovakia, the cases are still here. So if we not be careful, we have to. It will get worse. So there is no guarantee that everything will be straight line up. And I think we also that's why even our return to site is not. Is actually slow ramp because
so talking about it actually, Martin, what are, since the responsibility is important, so what the BSC employee, how they can help each other to keep safe not only the workplace but their own colleagues? What are the main things we recommend?
I think people need to be just personally responsible. I think everybody knows the guidelines. So the point is that I think if you think about how careful you were in March and April, because you felt like the present threat of the virus. Going out for grocery shopping was like going to the war zone. Everybody had the gloves and the face mask, and nobody was touching anything, and you were disinfecting everything. And that was probably I'm not saying that was the right level. That was probably the extreme measure, but I think just everybody needs to figure out what like how to continue to be safe, not to go to the absolute extreme, but again, like we need to continue to do all the recommended things, like
Be vigilant.
Wash your hands, don't shake hands when you don't really need to, don't hug people. This is gonna take really until the vaccine is here or until some effective treatment is here. I think people will just have to be more careful than before the corona erupted.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe let me close it with maybe more philosophical question. Like, what's your view on the new normal? Or you, Martin, already touched a little bit, but in upcoming months or years, we now see that some of the people didn't work from home. Now companies are okay with it. Do you think that the companies will support more working permanently from home? What's your view, for the career opportunities, with the limited travel? Like, what's your new normal view for the upcoming months or years?
So I think flexibility is probably going to be the key word here. And flexibility goes two ways in my book. On the one side, I foresee a lot of, or let's say, more flexibility from the employer side in terms of allowing for more home office, accepting that in a lot of cases people can be even more productive from home office, and that it helps with their personal life, frankly, if people are eliminating commuting times and they have that opportunity to be perhaps closer to relatives or facilities that they need to be taken care of, then that can help people just balance their lives even better than before. I do think that the flip side of that is certainly we're looking at a scenario that says, okay, but if a lot more people are going to be working from home in the future, do we necessarily need all of these desks that we're paying for? Because this is also something that has a significant impact on the corporate environment. So I think people will also have to understand that the flexibility perhaps goes both ways in terms of perhaps not having a desk that they call their own when they do come into the office, or perhaps not all of the time, but there will be more shared space going forward. So I see it very much flexibility from two ways.
Yeah. So all those desks where people have a lot of pictures and things, and
the cuddly toys. Yeah,
this is maybe something as well that is going to change. I understand. Martin, you wanted to share?
I would say, I agree with everything what Paul said, but as I said, I think we will have to adjust to it because it's not going to work for everybody. I was just thinking, if you are a young graduate joining the company who never worked, how quickly can you ramp up from home? And probably not very quickly. And I would say part of the experience of working was actually to meet the new people, make new friends, find the girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, and now this is all going to be a little different. So I think we just need to figure it out, because maybe we will have to have these graduates work from home, maybe not 100% of the time, but maybe 50% of the time. So we just have to adjust the way we are used to think about things. Even as I said, I think it's we will we will have to find a new balance, and basically it doesn't mean that now everybody works from home and nothing else changes. Actually we have to think about how to stay relevant. How do I work from home, but how do I continue to learn, and how do I continue to be important for my boss? How do I continue to develop? How do I continue to progress? And and everything is possible even in this new environment, but it might require some changes. So, and some changes from the company. As I said, maybe we need to think about for our talent programs that if somebody's in the talent program, they need to be in the office a couple of times a week, or maybe we need to organize some offsites for them or whatever. And it requires some changes from people. You cannot, going forward, if you're working from home, you cannot rely on meeting somebody in the office, coincidentally having a coffee or having a chat. So you have to organize it. You have to be more thoughtful and more organized for things which historically you didn't even think about because they somehow happen naturally for you, just because it's being in the office. So, and I think we are talking a lot about as if like 100% people work from the home going forward. I think it's gonna be. We will have to just find the right balance, and we don't know what the right balance is, and we won't even try to determine it in like a 3 months time. I think we will try to go back to normal, find a new balance, and it might take years to redefine things. So it's gonna be a long journey, but full of opportunities. So we just need to grab it and use it to our favor. So
thank you. So that was our BSc interview for today. I wish all of you learned something new about it. Thank you so much, Paul and Martin, for sharing your point of view.
Thank you.
Perhaps come again, right, when we will start redefine the new balance, because I think it's going to be important to keep sharing and keep informing also our employees and everybody else in BSc. Till then, click like, share, follow our blog and our group, and thank you so much for watching.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, guys.
Have a nice weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.